Have you ever wondered if someone around you could be hiding dark intentions? That person who seems friendly, but deep down, something doesn't feel right? Get ready, because today we're going to reveal the 12 clear signs that may be going unnoticed. Signs that may be so close that you can't even imagine. And here's a warning. The last sign is the most common, and at the same time, the most ignored by all of us. But before we start, if you've ever suspected someone or want to protect your peace of mind, don't forget to subscribe to the channel, activate the notification bell, and leave a like. This helps not only you, but also other people who need to open their eyes to these situations. Let's explore these signs together, and at the end of the video, you will be more prepared to deal with people who hide evil behind a smile. So stay tuned until the end, because the last tip can completely change your view of the people around you. Not all evil appears in an obvious way. He often hides behind a mask of kindness and friendliness. Mean people know how to manipulate, using kind gestures or sweet words to gain the trust of those around them. This causes victims to let their guard down, allowing evil to sneak into their lives. The philosopher Seneca said, "Evil often hides under the appearance of good," and this phrase could not be more true. These people, manipulative by nature, create a false environment of security. They pretend to be friends and allies, but behind this facade, their intentions are destructive. One of the biggest difficulties is recognizing this type of person, as their initial actions may even appear to be helpful or concerned. The reality, however, is that everything is carefully calculated to achieve your own interests, and when the cover falls, it may already be too late. To protect yourself, it is essential to always be alert, observing actions that do not match words. When someone seems too good to be true, it might be time to set off your internal alarms. Evil hidden under the cloak of good is one of the most dangerous, as it strikes when you least expect it. Staying informed and attentive is the key to not falling into this trap. Have you ever felt that someone around you seemed happy about your unhappiness? This behavior, known as schadenfreude, is pleasure in the suffering of others. More common than it seems, it can arise from small moments, such as a disguised smile when you go through an embarrassing situation, or even subtle comments of contempt. Psychologically, these people feed on the pain of others as a way to elevate their own ego. The real danger is when this behavior becomes a habit. We are not just talking about specific moments, but about individuals who constantly seek situations where they can feel superior seeing the fall or failure of others. They find satisfaction in watching someone stumble, fail, or suffer some kind of misfortune, and the pleasure they feel is as profound as it is troubling. What many don't know is that this behavior is a clear sign that these people may be harboring hidden evil. Identifying these individuals is not easy, as they know how to disguise their reactions well. A subtle smile here, an ironic comment there, and soon you may find yourself surrounded by someone who, instead of supporting you, is rooting against you. Therefore, it is important to pay attention to the reactions of those around you in times of difficulty. These small signs can reveal a toxic and malicious personality. Imagine yourself in an uncomfortable situation. You make a mistake, mess up, or experience a public difficulty, and as you try to recover, you notice someone next to you smiling surreptitiously. That smile is not one of empathy, but one of satisfaction. The truth is that there are people who find pleasure in seeing other people fail. This subtle behavior can be one of the first signs of a mean personality. The reason behind this is usually linked to low self-esteem. These people feel that when they see someone fail, they can feel superior. For them, other people's failure serves as fuel to inflate their own ego, creating a false sense of success. On the surface, these people may even pretend to be sympathetic or understanding, but their gestures and expressions betray their real intentions. Learning to identify this type of behavior is essential to keeping your emotional health intact. Instead of letting these attitudes affect you, stand firm in your own achievements and surround yourself with people who truly care about your well-being. Failure is a part of life, but surrounding yourself with people who take joy in it is a choice you can avoid. Have you ever had the feeling that someone is trying to control every aspect of your life without even asking your permission? Mean people often have an obsessive need for control. They try to dictate how you should act, think, and even feel, as if they were the directors of a film in which you are the protagonist, but without letting you be part of the decisions. This relentless quest for control often arises from a deep insecurity and fear of losing power. Controllers manipulate silently and insidiously. Their actions are calculated to limit your freedom, making you emotionally or even physically dependent on them. Small decisions that you should make on your own end up being directed by these people, and before you know it, your autonomy has been completely undermined. Control is not about your well-being, but rather their fear of losing control over the situation or over you. The best way to deal with this behavior is to set clear and firm limits. Although it may be uncomfortable, making it clear that you are responsible for your own life and choices is essential. Controlling people tend to withdraw when they realize that their attempts at manipulation are no longer effective. The key is to maintain your independence and not let this need for control dictate your life. Manipulation is not always obvious. Often, people who try to control you do so in subtle ways, using arguments that seem logical or positioning themselves as if they are just trying to help. However, it is exactly in this apparent care that the true intention of control is hidden. These people don't have your best interests at heart. They want to make sure you follow their rules so they can feel in control of the situation. Compulsive controllers use emotional tactics to confuse their victims. They make you believe that your decisions are irrational, while their opinions are always the most sensible. This ends up creating an emotional dependence, where you start to doubt your own capabilities. It's as if the controller is moving the pieces in a chess game, where you are just a pawn. To free yourself from this type of manipulation, it is crucial to learn to trust your own instincts and make your decisions based on what you truly believe is right. Whenever you feel like someone is trying to influence your choices in an insistent or emotionally draining way, remember that your opinions and feelings are valid too. Control is an illusion created by manipulators, but you have the power to regain autonomy over your own life. Sometimes the body knows before the mind can understand. Have you ever felt that strange feeling when being around someone, even without a logical reason for it? An uneasiness, an inexplicable discomfort, as if something wasn't right. That's your instinct trying to warn you. Our body is more intelligent than we imagine, capturing subtle signals that reason may not immediately perceive. And when you feel like something is wrong, it often is. Bad people often cause this feeling in those around them. They may not say anything directly, but their presence carries a negative energy that affects the environment. Even if they appear friendly or helpful, the discomfort we feel in their company may be an indication that something is not right. We often ignore these signs because we don't want to appear paranoid, but the truth is that our body can pick up on what our mind hasn't yet understood. Trust your instinct. If you feel uncomfortable around someone, don't ignore that feeling. Investigate the reason, pay attention to the signs, and move away if necessary. Intuition is a powerful protection tool and can save you from big problems if you know how to listen to it. That feeling that something is out of place is your body telling you to be careful. Have you ever noticed that sometimes, without a single word, our body sends us clear warning signals about a person or situation? The sixth sense, that inexplicable feeling that something is wrong, is an automatic response that our brain offers us. Toxic people emit energy that directly affects the environment around them, and the human body has the incredible ability to capture these vibrations. It's as if an internal radar was always active, analyzing the non-verbal behavior, tones of voice, and even the micro-expressions of those around us. When someone toxic approaches you, you may feel tension in your shoulders, a slight headache, or even a heaviness in your stomach. These are subtle but real signs that that person may not be the best company. These reactions are natural, a defense mechanism of our body to keep us protected. Learning to interpret these signs can save you from unhealthy relationships. Instead of ignoring this intuition, use it to your advantage. If your body is trying to warn you about someone, listen carefully. These physical reactions are a reminder that often the truth about someone lies between the lines, not in the words spoken. Have you ever met someone who always seems to have an excuse for everything, who never takes the blame for his own mistakes and is always ready to blame someone else? This is one of the clearest signs that you are dealing with a toxic person. Avoidance of responsibility is a striking characteristic of individuals who do not have the emotional maturity to deal with their own failures. These people are true masters in the art of excuses. If something goes wrong, it will never be their fault. The traffic was bad, the internet was down, the weather didn't help. There is always an external explanation to justify your failures. This constant attitude of deflecting responsibility not only harms others, but also prevents these people from growing and learning from their own mistakes. To protect yourself from this type of behavior, it is important to set clear limits. Don't accept excuses as indisputable truths, and don't allow responsibility to be placed on you unfairly. Standing firm and demanding responsibility is essential to avoid falling into the emotional traps that these people create to avoid the consequences of their actions. Some people have a habit of playing victims in every situation. No matter what, they manage to flip the narrative to appear as the wronged ones. This behavior is not only frustrating, but also emotionally draining for those around. When someone never takes responsibility and always puts themselves in the role of victim, it is a clear sign of manipulation. These people are experts in transforming any situation to their advantage. They cry, they lament, and they manage to convince others that they are the only ones harmed. This behavior is extremely toxic, as it creates an environment where negative emotions and energies dominate, and those who live with them end up carrying the blame for mistakes they didn't make. This cycle of emotional manipulation is exhausting and can undermine the self-esteem and confidence of those around you. Dealing with this type of person requires patience and firmness. Don't let yourself be carried away by constant victimization, and above all, don't take on responsibilities that aren't yours. Learn to identify these patterns and, whenever possible, maintain a healthy distance. Emotional manipulation is a powerful weapon, but recognizing these behaviors is the first step to neutralizing their effects. Lying, for some people, is not just an occasional tool, but a deeply ingrained habit. These individuals lie so naturally that it seems like a second language. When confronted, they are capable of creating elaborate stories, weaving narratives that at first glance may seem convincing. However, the truth always ends up coming to light, and lies, over time, leave traces that are difficult to ignore. Evil people use lies to manipulate, obtain advantages, and control situations. They lie not only about irrelevant facts, but also about essential aspects of their lives and relationships. Sometimes the lie is so well told that even those closest to it begin to doubt reality. It's as if they live in an alternative reality, where the truth is shaped to serve their personal interests. Detecting these lies is challenging, but there are patterns to look for. Contradictions in their stories, constant exaggerations, and a reluctance to confront the truth are some of the most obvious signs. The sooner you can identify this behavior, the faster you can protect yourself from the harm these people can cause. Trust, once broken, is difficult to restore. Lying is not just an addiction for some people, it is a calculated strategy of control. Manipulators construct false realities, making their targets believe a distorted version of the facts. They create stories that favor their intentions, altering events and minimizing their mistakes. In the end, the victim no longer knows what to believe, becoming trapped in a tangle of lies and half-truths. These individuals are able to keep their lies going for long periods of time, revising and adjusting details as necessary to avoid being discovered. In relationships, this manipulation can be devastating. The deceived person begins to doubt themselves, constantly questioning whether what they experienced or heard was real. This type of behavior leads to profound emotional and psychological distress. To avoid falling into this trap, it's important to trust your judgment and look for concrete evidence. When you realize that something doesn't fit, question, investigate, and maintain your firm position in the face of any attempt to distort reality. Manipulators don't like to be confronted and often back off when they realize their lies are no longer working. Have you ever met someone who seems incapable of changing, even when faced with facts that demand adaptation? Resistance to growth and change is a clear sign of a person stuck in the past. They cling to old beliefs and behaviors, refusing to accept that the world around them is constantly evolving. These people are proud of their stubbornness, using phrases like, "I'm like this," or "I've always been like this," to justify their lack of evolution. This type of behavior is often born from fear of the unknown. Change requires courage and the ability to face failure. Two things these people avoid at all costs. For them, it is more comfortable to stay in their comfort zone, even if it means repeating the same mistakes and toxic behaviors. The problem is that this stagnation affects not only them, but also those around them. Living with someone like this can be exhausting, as these people often resist any attempt to improve. They sabotage constructive discussions and avoid taking responsibility for their failures, using their resistance to new things as a shield. Learning to deal with these people without absorbing their negativity is essential to maintaining your own sanity and personal growth. Fear of the unknown is one of the biggest obstacles to personal growth and transformation. For many people, leaving their comfort zone is scary, as it means facing uncertainty and possible failure. This fear, often irrational, makes them cling to the familiar, even if it prevents them from evolving. They prefer to continue with harmful behaviors or outdated attitudes, as the new one represents a threat to their identity. The problem with this mindset is that life is, by nature, full of change. When someone refuses to evolve, they are not only limiting their own potential, but also creating barriers to their relationships and their ability to adapt to adversity. This refusal to change is a sign of emotional weakness, which can result in isolation and resentment. The more a person resists change, the more stagnant they become. Overcoming this fear is essential for growth. The key is to realize that the unknown can bring new opportunities and learning. Although it is natural to feel fear, it is important not to let it paralyze us. Learning to embrace change, however uncomfortable it may be, is the first step towards a fuller, more authentic life. Kindness is a virtue, but in the wrong hands, it can be exploited. Some people see generosity as a weakness, to be manipulated for their own benefit. They know exactly how to press their victims' emotional buttons, playing on guilt, compassion, and the desire to help. These manipulators exploit the kindness of others without remorse, draining energy and resources from those who, by nature, are more willing to give. These people use tactics such as emotional blackmail, where they make the kind person feel responsible for their difficulties. Phrases like, "If you were really my friend, you would do this for me," or "You are the only person who can help me," are often used to generate guilt. The victim, wanting to help, ends up giving in, even if it harms them in some way. This cycle of exploitation can continue indefinitely until the victim realizes that their kindness is being used against them. Protecting yourself from this exploitation requires self-knowledge and the ability to say no without feeling guilty. Being kind does not mean being an open door for abuse. Establishing clear boundaries is crucial to prevent your generosity from being drained by those who don't have genuine intentions. Remember, true kindness is a balance between helping others and caring for yourself. Emotional blackmail is one of the tools most used by manipulators to exploit the kindness of their victims. They take advantage of empathy and a desire to help to put people in difficult situations where saying no seems cruel or insensitive. The manipulator plays on other people's emotions, creating false dilemmas and making the victim feel that it is their obligation to solve their problems. As a result, the kind person ends up sacrificing themselves for the other without realizing that they are being manipulated. This blackmail is often disguised as urgent or dramatic requests for help. The manipulator makes you feel guilty for not intervening, suggesting that your lack of action would be an act of betrayal or neglect. This puts the victim in a position where they feel they have no choice but to give in. This cycle of emotional exploitation can last for years, wearing the person down emotionally and physically. To get out of this trap, it is essential to learn to recognize the signs of emotional blackmail. Setting limits and being firm when saying no are important steps to protecting your emotional balance. Helping others is important, but never at the expense of your own peace of mind. Emotional blackmail only works when the victim allows their feelings of guilt to be manipulated. Contempt is one of the most destructive forms of toxic behavior. Unlike constructive criticism, which aims to improve or help, contempt aims to humiliate and degrade the other. People who use contempt do so to feel superior, trampling on the self-esteem and dreams of others. It is as if their pleasure was directly linked to the suffering and humiliation of others. When a person constantly belittles your achievements, appearance, or abilities, they are clearly showing their disdain. This behavior is particularly toxic in close relationships, such as partnerships, friendships, or families. Little by little, the victim begins to doubt himself, becoming increasingly submissive and emotionally dependent on the one who despises him. This cycle creates an unbalanced power relationship, where the manipulator controls the other through constant devaluation. To free yourself from this emotional poison, you need to recognize contempt for what it really is, a form of psychological abuse. Don't let someone's words define your value. Set clear limits and, if possible, distance yourself from people who try to undermine your self-esteem. You have the right to be treated with respect and dignity, regardless of what anyone says. Contempt is one of the main causes of deterioration in any type of relationship. It not only erodes the target's self-esteem, but also destroys trust and mutual respect. When someone shows constant contempt, whether with words or actions, they are sending the message that the other person is not worthy of consideration or appreciation. This attitude is devastating, as it dehumanizes and isolates the victim. Over time, the relationship goes from being a space of support and affection to becoming an emotional battlefield. Contempt poisons any attempt at dialogue or reconciliation, making it impossible to restore healthy ties. This type of behavior often results in painful breakups, as the victim reaches a point where they can no longer tolerate the humiliation. To prevent contempt from destroying your relationships, it's crucial to recognize the signs early. Confront the person and, if necessary, walk away before the damage is irreparable. Healthy relationships are based on respect, admiration, and mutual support. Contempt has no place in a genuine, loving connection. How someone treats animals reveals a lot about their character. Those who have a genuine connection with kindness and empathy generally treat animals with care and respect. However, for evil people, animals can be seen as inferior beings over whom they can exercise control and cruelty. Philosopher Immanuel Kant said that a man's heart can be judged by the way he treats animals, and this maxim remains current. Mistreating an animal, whether through neglect or active cruelty, is one of the clearest signs of a deviant character. These people demonstrate their lack of empathy by inflicting pain on defenseless beings without caring about the suffering they cause. This behavior should not be underestimated, as it is often a reflection of how these people treat other life forms, including human beings. Animal cruelty can be a sign of even more serious behavior in other areas of life. Identifying this behavior and reporting it is essential to protect not only the animals, but also the people around them. Cruelty, in any form, must not be tolerated. Whoever is capable of mistreating a defenseless being may be nurturing other forms of evil that sooner or later will manifest themselves in a destructive way. The relationship between humans and animals is one of the greatest indicators of a person's empathy and kindness. Someone who treats animals cruelly demonstrates their inability to connect in a healthy way with other beings. Respect for life in all its forms is a trait that reveals a kind and compassionate personality, while negligence or cruelty shows the opposite, a hardened and indifferent heart. What many don't realize is that cruelty to animals is often a symptom of deeper emotional problems. A person who abuses an animal also often has difficulty maintaining healthy relationships and may exhibit violent or manipulative behavior in other areas of their life. Therefore, observing how someone deals with animals can give valuable clues about the type of character we are dealing with. Caring for animals with care and respect is not only an act of kindness, but also a reflection of our humanity. Protecting the most vulnerable, whether humans or animals, is a sign of true empathy. Pay attention to this indicator. A person who respects life in all its forms tends to be more balanced and compassionate in all areas of their life.